Take a breath. Gaze upon it. We all have one. It sits there on the shelf, or tucked away in a closet, or taking up half of my kitchen cabinets. The hobby community calls it the pile of shame. We make memes about it. We joke with our buddies about how we're buying minis faster than we can paint them. Ouch, my wallet! We laugh it off. But if we're being completely honest with ourselves, if we walk into our hobby room after a long day of work, and our eyes drift over that grey, ominous mountain of plastic and sprues, you don't really feel like laughing, do you? We feel a quiet, heavy sort of sigh, a subconscious weight, a creative paralysis. That pile isn't just a collection of unpainted and unassembled plastic toy soldiers anymore. It's turned into a physical backlog of unfinished work. A row of tiny plastic judges reminding you what you haven't done. Most of us are in this hobby to escape some form of real-world stress. So how did we let this become a source of guilt? To understand the guilt, we have to look at the trap, the cycle. We live in an absolute golden age of miniature design, but we also live in an era of hyper-consumerism. The corporate hobby cycle is an incredibly powerful machine. It thrives on creating an endless loop of anticipation. Think about the feeling of buying a new box of minis. Think about the excitement when you see something new released on a Warhammer community article. The community paint jobs up on Instagram and all over the internet. The click of that pre-order button, the smell of the cardboard when it arrives. In that moment, before the sprues are even clipped and before that sweet, sweet smelling glue even hits your nostrils, you are a master painter. In your mind's eye, the army is already finished, looking beautiful on a table somewhere. You get a massive hit of dopamine just by owning the possibility of a finished project. But then you open the lid and reality crashes in. You see 100 tiny arms, heads, backpacks, and weapons staring back at you. You realize the immense, staggering investment of time required to bring that mental picture to life. The dopamine vanishes. And instead of creative sanctuary, your hobby desk suddenly feels like a factory floor. You look at the boxes, you look at your limited free time, and your brain just kind of shuts down. You decide to watch a video or scroll social media instead, and the pile grows and the guilt deepens. So, how do we heal it? How do we take the power back from the pile of shame? Well, we have to practice the art of reduction, and I'm not talking about enamel washes. We have to apply a less is more philosophy, not just to our paintbrushes, but to our physical space and surroundings. So here's my challenge to you. Grab your pile of shame, no matter how big it is, stuff it away in a cupboard, close the door, and just get it out of line of sight and forget about it for a little while. Your brain cannot create when it's being constantly overstimulated by that pile of potential. Then, clear your desk and just get out one model. Just one model, nothing more, just one. Or perhaps even a squad if you want to go there, but let's start with one. And then give yourself permission to ignore the rest of the world, the universe, whatever's going on outside. Just that model. And when you sit down with just one model, the decision fatigue evaporates. You don't have to worry about an army or a project or a whole squad or batch painting. You just have that one guy. You can look at the rivets on his armor. You can think about his story. You can slop on a messy, heavy base coat, knowing full well that the magic happens later on when we add oils and weathering. And then you let go of the need for perfection because you've removed a deadline. We need to stop calling it a pile of shame because truly words have power. And that name carries with it a penalty that we didn't ask to pay. Let's change the vocabulary. It's not a backlog anymore, it is a library. When you buy a book from a bookshop and you take it home and you stick it on your bookshelf and you sit on the couch, you're not sat there feeling guilty about the fact that you haven't read it yet. You don't look at that library and feel shame. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You're glad it's just there. You're comforted knowing that when the right rainy evening comes along, you can take that book and begin a new story. Well, your unpainted miniatures are just unwritten stories waiting for that rainy evening. A miniature's true value isn't unlocked when it enters a display case and is painted to a box art standard. Its value is unlocked in those quiet, peaceful moments sitting there at your desk on those rainy evenings. Losing yourself in the texture, in the story, adding grime, adding depth. Literally healing your brain after a long, hard day at work. Be kind to your creative mind. Clear your desk, declutter, take one miniature and let the story evolve.